Hello, listeners, and welcome to Beyond the Mirror. This isn't just another podcast, it's a deep dive into the world of beauty, wellness, and longevity. Now, we're here to discuss what beauty really means beyond just appearances. We'll also talk about wellness, the habits and practices that keep us healthy, full of energy, and we'll explore the topic of longevity, looking at the science and realities of living a long, fulfilling life. So sit back, relax, and join us as we go beyond the mirror.
Hello, listeners. This podcast. I am so apprehensive about this podcast.
This topic.
I can talk about a million things. This topic is challenging for me. It fights every concept that I have thought forever. And I have just recently broken into new thoughts and new thought waves on it. Dena's been there forever. So she's just coming along for my ride now.
It's all good.
But we are going to talk about the sun. We're going to talk about the sun. We're going to talk about sunscreen. We're going to talk about blue light exposure and that kind of thing. But we're going to start by talking about sun.
Tell them a little bit of how this got started. Where did this come from?
So we had this, there was a bunch of us in my office, including Dena, and we were all having a discussion about sun exposure and sunscreen use. And if anyone is out there if you're out investigating wellness stuff right now, you are bumping into resistance against using sunscreen. It's very prevalent. It's out there all over the place. And for me forever, I'm like, that's absurd. That's ridiculous. Why would you not use sunscreen? And we're having this whole discussion about sun exposure, and Dena was basically like,
oh, I don't ever wear sunscreen.
I've never worn sunscreen.
Now, keep in mind, I do have darker skin. My background is Hispanic and Armenian, so I don't typically burn. I do protect my skin, but I don't do it with sunscreen.
Yeah. I, on the other hand, am as white as a person could be. I have that skin you can see all my blue veins through. My genetic background is German and Irish and Swedish.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a little Italian back there, which gave me the brown eyes and things like that. And so that does sit with some level of protection for me. Mm-hmm. And I know it's not all about genes. But the reason this is hard for me is that, so we had this discussion, Dena adamantly was like, no to the sunscreen. And we all were like, Dena,
oh, you would have thought I was like the devil.
What are you saying?
I was like, oh, the firing squad's all looking at me, pointing their guns. What is going on? And how dare you? Which was funny.
So it started that way, but what was more interesting is that I'm endlessly listening to wellness podcasts. I'm obsessed. I could not, my friend Jamie the other day, she said, when the hell do you have the time to do this? And I'm like, basically every minute I'm not working. Mm-hmm. If I'm not here, I'm painting and listening to a podcast. I'm cooking and listening to a podcast. I'm sitting outside and gardening and I'm listening to a podcast. I am driving my car and I'm listening to a podcast.
Always. Every waking moment.
And then I go to bed.
Yeah.
And sleep. But I tripped upon a doctor who is sort of the foremost guy on sun and UV and blue light. He is
does he do pathology?
No. Neurologist.
Neurologist.
He's a neurologist. He was a dentist He was a dentist, then a neurologist, and now he studies quantum biology.
Interesting. I love it.
So I went on this little trip with my son for spring break. We went to the beach and I began to listen to him speak. And what he said to me was revolutionary. It was, getting no sun is just as bad as getting too much sun. At the end of the day, like, getting no sun is not natural. It's not natural. And I have spent a huge amount of my life. I was wearing sunscreen at 16 when no one was wearing sunscreen in my age group. No one wore sunscreen then.
Yeah.
But I burned so easily. It was such an uncomfortable experience. I decided I never got tan. Like, tan seemed inconceivable to me.
Yeah.
So I was like,
why do it?
What's the point?
Yeah.
I'll stay in the shade. I'll put on sunscreen.
I'll wear all my clothes.
That's right. I'll do all those things.
Yeah.
And so my point is, from a very early age, I was blocked, and I have been blocked. At 35, I got a squamous cell carcinoma on my lower eyelid. My doctor told me it was from wearing cheap sunglasses.
Interesting.
Now, I do have a genetic factor, and my mom is very fair and has had a lot of skin cancers, but she hasn't had any of the scary ones. So she's had a lot of little basal cells. I know to some people that sounds scary. But what happened to me next is, a couple of years ago, I got melanoma. And this was such a devastating diagnosis for me.
Yeah, because you do all the things right that they tell you to do.
I eat the healthy things.
Yeah.
I take care of my body. I work out.
Yeah.
I block the sun. And I'm like, how in the ever-loving hell has this happened to me?
Yeah.
It just didn't make
Did not compute.
It didn't make any sense. And so then I'm on this trip, and this guy is talking about solar callous. And he's talking about how some sun builds your immune system to sun, kind of. It's like the concept of, you don't want to get sick, you should have some bacterial exposure.
Yeah, it's like the microdosing.
If you're not getting any exposure to bacteria, you're not building your immune system.
Correct.
Then you go out in the world and you get exposed to something and your body can't handle it.
Yeah, because he hasn't seen it.
And theoretically, he believes the same about the sun. And I've been I love my dermatologist. Like, she's fantastic. I've been seeing her every 3 months. I'm like 18, almost a year and 3/4 through the process of regular checks and all the things. I haven't had any reoccurrence or anything. But what he was saying made sense to me. And I'm like, I did it this way. And it didn't turn out good.
Yeah.
It didn't turn out the way that I expected. And I'm not sitting here advocating for people to go lay out at the beach and just royally bake themselves, because that's not really the point of this conversation.
And I don't do that either.
No, because it's actually not good for you. Your skin is the largest organ of your body.
Yes.
You do need to keep it healthy. Burning your skin is not healthy. Excessive sun exposure is not healthy. So that's not what we're talking about here. But what he wanted and what he believes is, first thing in the morning, sun on your skin and sun in your eyes, which is also very controversial. And it's all about mitochondrial health, help with insulin, thyroid, weight, all of this. And again, let's not all get baked in the sun, but let's get a solar callus. And so here we are today. We're going to talk about this. And I like literally have a stomach ache because it refutes everything that I've taught you guys, that I've taught myself, that I've taught my children. And it butts up against all of my personal beliefs. And so, anyone that's challenged your own personal beliefs knows
and as an esthetician.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh, we spend all day reversing it off of people.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying not to do those things. I'm saying let's get it off of you still.
Mhm.
Okay. It still could be damaging, and let's fix the damage.
In no scenario do you keep it.
Right. Yes. So Dena's already passionate about having the exposure, building the solar callus.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't think of a better person to talk to. Like, why don't you elaborate a little on your solar philosophy?
Well, I mean, at a very young age, I don't remember ever wearing sunscreen or sunblock when we were younger. And we'd go to the lake, and anywhere you're around a body of water, you have the potential to receive a sunburn. I remember, we'd wear hats and that kind of stuff to kind of protect our face and those kinds of things. I do remember going to like a science center, and they had the little thing where you can see the skin. And so you took a look at the skin, you saw what the skin looked like, and then they were like, okay, now apply the sunblock. Mm-hmm. And then I noticed like when you applied the sunblock, you couldn't see the skin. And so I was like, well, my science mind was like, well, how does the vitamin D get synthesized then if I'm wearing all this sunblock? And I know that I knew just inherently, I just knew that I needed the sun for me to feel good. And it was part of my mood and part of my overall wellness for me. I just knew that. Mm-hmm. And so I've never really worn sunblock. I can count on one hand the times I've worn sunblock. When I go to Cancun, I do wear sunscreen because 5 days of intense sun for me even is too much. And we're in the pool the whole time.
Right.
So in that case, I do wear it. But everywhere else, no.
You can go back to the whole virus. Like, okay, if you completely isolate yourself and you get around a virus, it's horrific. Okay, let's say you get viral exposure on the regular and you've got some immune system. You're not going to go dunk yourself in a giant scary virus for it's the same with the
same
sun.
Concept.
You're like, and so,
and moderation.
In moderation.
Yes.
In moderation.
And that is really what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Is the time of day is very important.
Time of day. Mm-hmm. And so the element that's really important to this time of day is that morning sun has the highest level of red light. Mm-hmm. So anybody that's in wellness and has studied red light in any way knows it's healing. It's actually anti-aging. Mm-hmm. It helps with pain. It helps with inflammation. Yep. It helps with a lot of things. And so how about every day you get some free red light therapy?
Yeah.
By just having your coffee outside. Yeah. First thing in the morning, whenever you get up, whenever you're available, whenever you're able to do it. Mm-hmm. Sunrise is the best, but I am not an early morning person.
Me either.
And come this summer, I will not be getting up at 5 a.m. just to get my red light therapy in. I will wait till my normal waking time. I will go outside and I'll have my coffee. Mm-hmm. I'll probably try to have my bare feet in the ground.
Yeah.
Have a little grounding effect with it.
Yes. Is there a time frame that he says and recommends?
So, interestingly, that is all about how much blue light exposure
you get. Okay.
All
right.
So today, Dena and I have done a bunch of podcasts, and we have got an excessive amount of blue light.
We do, but we've had those off all day, and we've just had the computer and the ring light on.
It's bad though.
Is.
If you're someone that is sitting in front of a computer all day, you are getting a very large quantity of blue light. And blue light on the other spectrum, instead of red light, is aging, is hard on your body, causes immune deficiencies.
Yep. It's got a frequency to it.
ADHD. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can talk a little bit. Like it's also emitting something called EMF.
Yes.
Electromagnetic frequency. The other place that we get that is our cell phones. Our tablets,
towers,
your television,
power towers that are the cell towers that are all over the place. those emit a frequency, and those interrupt the frequency that our body is. And at a lower frequency, that's when disease occurs. And so, that can be a whole nother topic, but that's like a whole one podcast.
Yeah.
Talking about frequency.
So blue light, your level and quantity of blue light exposure determines how much sunlight you need to get to to counterbalance it. So like after today, I'm going to try to the next few days, spend a little more time than I would normally. I've been trying to do about 10 to 30 minutes. Now, like, there's been 2 days this week. It was 3 minutes because I was like, this is what I have. I'm going to do this.
Better than zero. Right?
Yeah. And one day it was raining.
Yeah.
So I did get home later and I got to catch a little bit of it at the end of the day. And so, but really, I mean, if you're doing 8 hours a day in front of your computer screen,
oh my,
you need to get it in on the weekends. You need to find the time to. And she's right about the vitamin D. That was the other part of this that made sense to me. And I was like, yeah, what did we do when we were in the past?
Yeah.
We were in the sun. We existed in the sun.
Nobody worked indoors.
We went and got under a tree when
Yeah.
we had too much.
Yeah.
We went to a cave when we had too much.
Right?
Like
nobody was like, let me go inside and like hang out in the house and kick it in the bedroom and watch TV.
Yeah.
There was none of that.
There was. Yeah. And, like skin cancer is not a brand new thing, but it is a newer thing. Cancer in general is a newer thing. Did they not know what it was and not diagnose it? That's possible. I'm not going to take it off the table.
And there's a lot of cancers linked to low vitamin D.
Yeah. There's a lot of disease.
There's a lot of disease linked to low vitamin D.
There's a ton of disease.
And mood disorder.
Yep.
Immunity, mood disorder. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just getting the vitamin D the regular way. So yeah, so it's a direct correlation from how much exposure you have to how much you need to kind of correct it. And so I've been trying this experiment. So if you guys see me with a little bit of sun on my body, sometimes it's tanner. I'm not going to lie. I do like sunless tanner, but sometimes it is a little bit of sun. And I'm having the first little tiny spots that I've had on my face in forever. And it freaks me out. It just terrifies me. But like today, I knew I was going to be inside all day. And I didn't put sunscreen on, which sounds absurd to most people probably. But I'm a person that wore sunscreen on my face 365 days a year.
Since what age? Since like 16?
At least 25 years.
Yes. Yeah. It's a long time.
At least 25 years.
That's a hard habit to break. Right?
Okay. But I do want to talk about sunscreen too, because the other element of this is toxic sunscreen.
Well, and there's sunscreen and there's sunblock. So there's two different things.
It's actually more, it drizzles down more than that.
It does. But for this, we'll just kind of keep it at sunscreen and sunblock.
Because they're not really labeled that way.
No, they're not. No. And that's another thing too.
So
there's a lot of chemicals in there.
Yes.
Which is why I don't like it either.
But there are plenty that don't. They can be found. It was actually much harder in the past. So that is one thing. When I have been wearing sunscreen, there really is one type of sunscreen, in my opinion, you can use. And that is a mineral-based sunscreen.
Yeah.
It's made from zinc or titanium dioxide or both. Anything beyond that is a chemical. Yes, it's a chemical. And the one that makes me crazy, and I'm sure somebody is going to will give me the side eye next time if they listen to this, is the mom's spraying.
Oh, yeah.
The spray that smells like bug spray, and it's sun whatever. It's not sunscreen. All over their children. Everyone's inhaling it around them.
Yeah.
And it is just loaded with chemicals. cancer causing chemicals. So here you are doing a thing which you think is good.
Yeah.
And I don't, like, you don't know. So I understand that you don't understand. You're spraying your child with a toxin to prevent them from getting sun, which is supposedly dangerous.
Yeah. To prevent them from getting skin cancers.
Yes.
Yeah. And a sunburn.
Yes.
Which is really, is it that bad? The sun?
So one thing I want to drive home on the sunscreen front is if you can spray it like an aerosol, you just throw it away, please. You're really making yourself sicker. You are not making yourself healthier in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
You're not making your child healthier. You're not making your parent healthier if you're assisting with that. If you're not rubbing on some ugly white pasty sunscreen, you're probably doing yourself a disservice. You're going backwards in your sun care from where you should go. And that's actually something I've believed for a long time, even before my newer revelations. And it's true. And it's, when people say, oh, sunscreen is so bad for you, that the reason that is that like 95% of them are.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, all the dermatologists were advising these products that are actually horrific for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they didn't do that with any ill intent. They just didn't know better. I have noticed a change in that.
There has been a big change. And I think Jessica Alba was one of the spearheaders of that to get the chemicals out of some of the stuff that, like we're spraying on our kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is huge. I do have one that it sprays on, but it sprays a lotion.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are some out there that can be okay.
Mine is more like if it's that aerosol.
Yeah. I don't like the aerosol
micronized little,
that stuff. You do breathe it.
You literally don't want to. Yeah. And when someone else, I'm at the beach and they're spraying that, I'm like,
yeah, you're hiding your face trying to get away.
Get me away from them.
Try not to breathe the toxins. Sheesh. That's why I don't put it on me. I don't want you spraying it in my mouth.
But I have noticed, like, on the shelf that there are a lot more. I'll tell you what, the way to get a clean sunscreen is to buy a reef safe sunscreen. Mm-hmm. Because the reef safe screens are all zinc and titanium.
Yeah, and this is not my area of expertise, just so you know, because I don't wear it.
Yeah,
so I don't know. I don't really know what's out there.
This is my area of expertise.
I do know that I have some that I do wear that is super clean and it's mineral based.
Yeah,
and that's, I don't wear it very often. One bottle lasts me 2 years.
Yeah, if you are like at a beach and you're away from home and you need to buy something or you run out of your regular sunscreen, if you look for a reef safe, that's going to be your best bet.
Yeah.
To keep it clean.
Yeah.
But maybe you should think about getting a little sun too.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit.
And so if I'm at a place where I know that the sun is going to be intense, like we were just in Florida. And so what I do is I am outside and I absorb my sun for a good 12 to 15 minutes because I know that's how long it takes to synthesize vitamin D. Then I go ahead and apply my sunscreen or whatever I'm going to wear if I decide I'm going to wear it. I don't always decide I'm going to wear it, but I feel like that's a good plan for me to get that in and get the sun that you're talking about, that
solar
callus, and then move into, okay, now I can go ahead and protect my skin the way I feel I need to.
Well, and the other thing is if you are building a little bit of a tan gently on your skin, you will be able to go longer in between. Mm-hmm. You will. And I do want to talk about a supplement also.
Perfect.
So there's a supplement called astaxanthin. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like the same stuff that's in carrots, that like orange carotene, beta carotene byproduct. If taken, actually, you can have more sun with less risk. It actually clinically reduces damage, discoloration, that kind of thing. And I should say that discoloration is not always damage. I mean, like having a little tan is not damage. Having a big, ugly spot is probably not good. But yeah, just having a light tan on your body is not the worst thing. And I also have to say, and I'll probably have a million people that want to jump down my throat, when I started exploring the concept of the melanoma topic, because for me, this is obviously very scary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this isn't like most people where they're like, oh, I might get a sunburn and that would be the worst thing that would happen to me.
Yeah.
For me, I might get melanoma, which is cancer, and I might actually, and it's a terrible cancer. It's not a good cancer to get. And so I have a lot of fear and trepidation going into this. But when I started thinking about the people that I knew that had melanoma, guess what?
They all wore sunscreen.
They all wore a lot of sunscreen. I think I can think of one scenario where that wasn't the case, but it was somebody that was on a golf course all the time.
Oh.
Which is also just riddled with chemicals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So playing lots and lots of golf.
Yeah.
Excessive sun in that situation.
Yeah.
But I did start to think about the people that I know that had gone through this, and I was like, wow.
Wait a minute.
This is just not right.
What's the commonality?
So anyways, I wanted to fearfully put this out to you. I want you to definitely take it with a grain of salt.
Do your research.
I am just in my early stages. I should say early. I have listened to 10 hours of
right
of information on this subject matter. The doctor that I listened to, I have tried desperately to find someone to refute him, and no one has.
Mm-hmm.
I know my dermatologist would tell me this is probably not a good plan, and I love her, and I do care what she thinks. But I've also done it one way, and I do think it's...
Well, they have completely different training, you know what I mean, and thought processes, and there's always two ways to get somewhere.
The other piece of his information is basically not to wear sunglasses, which is also...
Oh, so let's talk about that for a little bit, because what is his thing about putting the sun on the eyes?
It's all about managing mitochondria.
Okay. And so in nursing school, so I've been a nurse for 22 years, in nursing school and all the eye doctors I've ever spoke with, the way that you get cataracts, they tell you, is by not wearing sunglasses.
Correct.
Yeah. And so I thought, well, okay, so I actually had a cataract when they found it when I was 5.
Oh, wow.
Well, that had nothing to do with, me wearing sunglasses.
Sure.
Back then I was 5.
Right.
Nobody wears sunglasses.
Right.
So anyway, I just thought that was interesting that he says you can put it in your eyes because, they say that that's how you get cataracts.
It's very controversial.
It is very controversial.
It's like we're not laying this all out like rip off your clothes, lay on your roof at 3 o'clock on a hot day.
Yeah. No.
Look into the blazing sun.
Right.
This is not
Stare it down.
This is not the advice we're giving you.
No.
But I have transitioned to not wearing sunglasses. It's actually very freeing.
Right?
It's so freeing to drive around and not have them on your face.
And have you noticed like anything with your mood or your
Definitely.
energy or anything like that? Because if you are getting the mitochondria to work, the mitochondria are those little energy producers inside your cells. That's how you make ATP, which is energy. And every time your body makes energy, you produce a free radical. So the interesting thing is like, then you need the vitamin D, and then you need antioxidants, and you need glutathione, and
so
astaxanthin.
The other piece of it is it affects your circadian rhythm.
Yes.
Which actually helps you sleep. And I have absolutely, without a doubt, since implementing this technique, I am sleeping better than I've ever slept.
Yeah.
And I actually started taking supplements out that I've used for sleep. I've been slowly dripping them out, and I am sleeping fantastically. There's another element, though. Blacking out your room at night.
Mm-hmm. We've always done that.
I mean,
yeah.
After 10 hours of listening to this guy, I was sticking pieces of tape over everything that glowed in our bedroom till my husband was ready to throttle me. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, we can't have this light in here.
Yeah.
It has to stop. I have to
go away.
You see this little red light that's flickering on the power? Yeah, that has to be covered up. He's like, you're insane. And I'm like, okay, I might be insane, but I made that transition. I've made the mitochondrial sun in the eyes transition. I've done the morning sun transition. I have never slept better.
Yeah. I was like, your sleep was an issue for you before.
It has been an eternal battle for me.
That's huge.
I'm sleeping through the night. I do still have to wake up to pee occasionally, but I'm going back to...
We're bladder retraining.
I know. I have to go right back. I do go right back to sleep now, though. And none of these things happened for me in the past. And
interesting.
So I do believe, I'm sure the vitamin D is helping me.
Yeah. Oh, huge.
I'm sure it's helping my mood, but circadian rhythm is a part of this too. And we're hoping at some point, we can get an expert on to talk about this. Like, I love this particular doctor, but he's very in your face about this. And I'm not
abrasive about it.
I'm not really ready to have him on, but I am, looking for an expert on this topic to have a deeper scientific discussion about how it works.
Yeah.
But mitochondria, ATP, all of that, like he also believes that our body is basically a giant electrical conductor.
It is. We're water and
Yep. And the sun is like our charging station.
Yeah. Yep. To say this is why we don't do lightning bolts.
Yeah.
We can, but it's not good.
So probably the takeaways from today is carefully get yourself a little bit of sun. Get a little bit of sun in your eyes. Carefully. Don't go, this is not carte blanche to go fry yourself. This is not carte blanche to just destroy your body with sun exposure. Get away from your blue light. Get away from your computer, your indoor lighting, your phone, your television, your car, like everything. It's everywhere. I know that seems crazy, but it doesn't mean don't do it. It just means take a break. Make yourself take a break. Get away from these things. Reset yourself. If you're going to use sunscreen, which I do recommend at times, buy a reef safe sunscreen. Buy a really clean sunscreen with nothing but zinc or titanium dioxide as the active ingredient. But one other element of that, those spray sunscreens and anything that's not zinc or titanium, it's good for 80 minutes. 80 minutes. And if you get in the water, even less.
Yeah.
The thing about zinc and titanium is, generally speaking, the bottles might say 2 hours or 90 minutes. It actually is working for up to 4 hours.
Interesting.
And
nice.
Because it's a rock, because zinc and titanium are rocks,
Uh-huh.
water actually sheds from it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not like really washing it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, when you go to wash it off, it is a
come
challenge.
Off. Yeah. I was like, it doesn't come off. I remember seeing like, oh my gosh, like look like the next day. I'm like, is it still there?
Yeah. So yeah, get a little sun, pick out some clean sunscreen, get away from your blue lights, black out your room. Just give it a try. And maybe give us some feedback on how that went for you.
We'd love to hear from you.
And if you know anyone that wants to come on and talk about the science of this, I welcome them. Yes. Please let them reach out to us, because we really would like to dive a little bit deeper into this information for you, because there is so much more, like the whole electrical body and all that. It's amazing. It's amazing. So thanks for joining us for my rant / breakthrough / Dena was right.
I was like, yeah, I win. No, I don't. Nobody, the fact that anybody gets melanoma is terrible to me, so.
Yeah. And hopefully you gained a little piece of something that can benefit you from today's podcast as we head into the summer months.
We want to make a quick but important disclosure. The information and advice shared in this podcast are intended to provide general knowledge and understanding about wellness and health-related subjects. They are not intended to replace professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or qualified health provider with any questions that you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new health regimen. Remember, your health is your responsibility, and it's always best to consult with a healthcare professional.